Morning. How you doing?
Doing very well. How are you?
Having a great day, man. I just stepped out of the Senate Finance hearing.
hmm
Connect. It's good to be able to talk to people back home and listen to people back home, even when I'm stuck in Austin. So it's good to see you, man.
Well, it's good to see you here, Mr. Hughes, or Senator Hughes, I should say. So, if Senate Bill 590 is kind of centered around last session's abortion ban, and of course this extra, addition to bring child support retroactive back to conception. So talk about that and how it came to be.
You bet. As you know, the Senate last year and the House passed the heartbeat law. Governor Abbott signed that. It became law. And to protect that little baby growing inside her mother's womb, when there's a heartbeat present, everybody knows that's a life. Everybody gets that. And so, of course, since that time, the Supreme Court later overturned Roe versus Wade, and with the Dobbs decision, and allowed states to make decisions about protecting innocent life. So the whole discussion about when does life begin? And I think most folks around here believe that, well, not around Austin, most folks around East Texas, I think, believe that life begins at conception. That's certainly what the medical evidence tells us and what the scientific evidence tells us. And so someone raised the issue about child support. What about child support? Why should the mom carrying the child have to bear that financial burden by herself when there's a father who ought to be responsible? Why should we wait until birth before we have the father step up and take responsibility for that child? So it just makes sense. So let's begin that responsibility when that life begins at conception, and not wait until birth. So it's a pro mother, it's a pro baby bill. We're excited about it.
So talk about, for lack of a better word, the proof of fatherhood. If there's some sort of, dispute about who the father is there going to be like forced DNA test? How do you get around that situation?
So the great thing about this bill, we're already doing that. So in the normal situation, after the baby is born, questions arise about child support. So the state of Texas has a system in place already for that. So we're not adding anything at all to that system. The way we determine paternity, that'll stay just the same. Courts do that every day. We're just going to extend by a few months, by about 9 months, the date where that responsibility will begin.
And as far as I lost my train of thought. Census counts, of course.
Yes.
Is this like the next step in a evolving process of adding these conceived babies to the population?
It's a great question. It comes up a lot of times because, for example, we know that already in the law, if a little baby is born in the United States, that little baby is a U.S. citizen. No matter where the parents are from, that baby is born here, that's a U.S. citizen. So we recognize that when that little baby is in the womb, she's already going to be entitled to some help. And so it's a big debate we're going to continue to have. But I think it's good for us to be talking about when life begins because that really affects a lot of other things. You mentioned the census. That's a great question. I don't know if that one has come up yet. We've got a few years to get ready for that. But it makes sense. Every mom watching and everybody who has a mom, but certainly moms who have born children, know that that's a little life growing inside of her and know that it's a life worthy of protection and worthy of being recognized by the law. So that's why we're doing this.
So kind of going to the statistics around the state right now, of course, do you happen to have the numbers on how many fathers, or even mothers for that matter, parents are behind in arrears on child support, and if this is going to make those numbers worse or possibly better?
That's a great point. The Attorney General's office has hundreds of lawyers and I believe thousands of employees, and all they do in that particular department is enforce child support. It's a real issue, and it happens every day in family court all across East Texas and all across Texas. So there's a system in place to do that already. So we're not adding any new requirements or anything like that, but we're just changing the date when that responsibility is triggered. But yes, it's a problem. And do we hope this will cause folks to be responsible, to take responsibility? You bet. We all need to be responsible for our actions. And so the mother obviously is the mother of the child and is responsible for that child. So many times the father is not there. And this points up a larger issue in our society when we talk about even horrible things like school shootings. A lot of things we can do about that, and we are. A lot of funding, a lot of help for our schools, for our police. But the absence of those fathers, man, it just comes back. So many problems we face and deal with every day. It comes back to the absence of those fathers. So we hope this bill will help. We hope it's going to make a difference.
So, if the father's determined after the baby's born with DNA testing, and now they're responsible for 9 months of back child support basically immediately, is that money due at once, or is it going to be due over the course of a certain longer period of time?
Yeah, there's a system in place for that already, because even now, when a baby is born, the obligation begins then, but the process for holding the father accountable just starts. You got to do some testing. You got to find out who you sometimes are not maybe sure who the father is. You got to find out. You take him to court. So by the time a judgment is entered against a father for child support, even today, they're already behind. Right now, they probably knew about the child, but the legal obligation wasn't determined by a court until the baby was already alive for a while. And so, in the current system, if I'm behind on my child support, they work out a payment plan. They try to help me pay. But it's important that we make sure that mom who's providing for that child has the support she needs. So already there are processes for back child support. So this will fit into that same system. That's a great question.
So as far as support for this bill, have you talked to Governor Abbott or Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick about this at all? Have they pledged support for it?
You know, we've spoken about bills like this in general. I mentioned that we just left the Finance Committee. The hearing's going on now. And we were just talking about the Alternatives to Abortion program. And you'll recall that's that program that provides money, tangible help for moms who are facing difficult pregnancies, difficult choices. It's help for those moms, help for the babies after they're born. We're increasing funding for that program because more moms and more babies need help. So once the bill moves through the process, we'll be talking to the governor, lieutenant governor, the speaker. There are already members of the House who said they want to pick this bill up. So we're very optimistic about it.
And outside of SB 590, are there any other bills that you're filing this session that you want to talk about?
And so property taxes, we have this obviously a tremendous budget surplus. We have a budget surplus because the people of Texas have been working hard and the economy has been strong. Now this inflation coming from the feds is affecting all of us, but because of a strong economy and strong oil and gas, we have a budget surplus. So that surplus, that's overpaid taxes. Y'all send us too much money. So the first thing to do with that surplus is to give the biggest chunk of it back to the taxpayers. So you're going to see property tax relief for homeowners, and maybe more than that, but certainly for homeowners, because most people are paying property taxes on that home. That's the biggest piece of property taxes that we pay. You'll see that. Again, you're also going to see investments in the classroom to help our teachers. You're going to see bills to empower parents. We have great schools in our part of the world, and we're thankful for them. There are places in Texas where parents are concerned about the curriculum, about the books, so you'll see bills to address that. And of course, transportation. We're growing. You're going to see investments made in transportation as well. So there's going to be some good stuff protecting children, making sure that children are not making life-changing decisions to mutilate their bodies or to take hormone therapy that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. That's happening in some places where children who are maybe confused or not sure about what they want to be, they're getting surgeries and hormone therapies that change them for life, and they can't go back and undo those things. But we're talking about children. You know, a child can't get a tattoo without a parent's consent. And there are certain things we don't let children do, even with their parents' consent, right? And we have to protect children. That's one of the highest responsibilities of us as a society, as a people. So you'll see bills along those lines as well. It's going to be a good session. It's going to be a good session. We're going to get some good things done, and we're going to stop some bad things, and hopefully get this over with and get back to work.
Senator Hughes, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you again in the future.
Thanks.